the three of us wanted to welcome you back. Linda, I, and this pimple on my head. So, I wanted to address our last video, and I just wanted to say we were literally just reacting to what the video stated, and it's factual of those time periods that England, the UK or Britain invaded other areas of the world. That's all we were reacting about. We weren't trying to insult anyone, saying you're such bad people or whatever.
Right. It's really, in my head, it's kind of funny that we could sit here and completely shit on our own government and our history as a country, as minimal as it is. Like, we don't have a shit ton of history here, and we can move on with our day. But if you trigger some people about their history and their ancestors' part in it, it's like, oh no, you guys don't know what we've done for the world. Look at all these things we've done for the world. And it's like, that's not what the video is about. The video is just areas that were invaded by the UK. That is it.
Yeah.
Okay. If we were doing a video that was all the good things they've done and we were shitting on them, that would be a whole nother topic. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't feel like we were. I will say,
no, we weren't. We were
just comment that you made that, like, I can see how it could piss people off about the whole Nazi Germany part. How you were saying, like, oh, maybe they were just like being about that.
I was asking your guys' opinion on that. If you think that they were using it to take advantage of certain areas,
that I can see being a little bit of a triggering. Whatever, but
we state when America was founded and a lot of the treatment of Native Americans and other things like that, we openly state that we think it was fucked up and wrong.
Right.
But
I will be the last person to defend our government, even if we've done good things, because I know at the end of the day, a lot of those good things were not done in good faith. Just like a lot of the good things Britain has done, or Greater Britain has done, have not been out of good faith. They've been because it was to your advantage in some way. And I think that's a lot of the point of a lot of people commenting or missing. But then the other side of me feels like a lot of the harsh comments we got were not from people who watch us often.
Yeah.
I know some of them were. You can easily define if somebody was someone that has watched us even one video before, because they had more of a respectful tone versus people just like completely getting so offended. I'm like, you've never watched any of our videos, because if you did, you would know how much we shit even on our own country. And I think you guys can learn a little bit from that too.
Yeah.
Again, we're probably preaching to the choir here. I bet you most of the people watching are like, we get what you guys were trying to do, even if it didn't come off that way.
Yeah, we weren't trying to insult anyone, but at the end of the day, we were just reacting to factual things. So it is what it is.
Well, factual according to that video. I mean, it's not the end all be all just because somebody made a video about it.
I'm saying those invasions are kind of history.
Right.
Yeah. That's all we were reacting to, is how many places they have invaded. That's it. But okay.
Right. Well, and I would say this is a long intro, so for anyone who was bitching about that, sorry, click off. Nobody's forcing you to be here. And we've already talked about that many times, so it kind of like annoys me when people bring it up. So it's like, yeah, we're going to talk. Get over it. Move on. I don't know. Like, maybe Brian can now put an intro.
I'll put maybe the marker.
So that you guys can just fast forward us talking out of our ass.
Yeah.
The only thing I will say that kind of annoyed me was like people trying to give so many pats on the back to the whole their involvement in the transatlantic slave abolition, because again, look into it. It's not because you guys were just trying to be these noble, ethical
and I'm sure there were some cases where there were people who were trying to do the right thing. That's in everything. Yeah.
That's in everything. But the majority of these movements are self-beneficial. They are not because
for the greater good
actually give a fuck about others. And that goes for many empires, many just like across the world.
Yeah.
You know, I will say certain parts of the world, especially in Western countries, they do get the majority of the heat for it because there was way more powers behind them doing it. Anyway, I'm not gonna ramble even more than I have, because apparently that is not something I'm allowed to do on our channel. But yeah, like Brian said, our intention is to not offend anyone. I would rather offend ourselves, as we've done many times. on this channel.
Yeah, exactly.
Before offending other people.
Yeah, we do appreciate everyone who watches and who enjoys us and
Yes.
and you know
and we are
interacts and everything. Yeah.
I've said this before. We are no source of information. Just because we may be uneducated in a topic, we're not reporting it for you to learn something. We're just two people sitting on their couch, like reacting to a video we see, whether there's,
Oh, and also,
whether there's much. What?
I don't know if you guys have watched our videos before, but for anyone wondering, we're not very far right conservative people. We're pretty much progressive leaning people, so. That shouldn't be a shock to anyone.
Again, we don't have it all figured out.
comments.
But another thing is we're limited by what we're taught in school, just like other people in other parts of the world are limited by what they're taught. And sometimes just because you are taught it one way doesn't make it the 100% die on that hill truth. Okay?
Well, yeah, because
there's always going to be gray areas on things.
Yeah.
And,
history is always written by the victors.
Yeah. And you're only going to see it as your own. There's so many people with a superiority complex in those comments that I was like, there's no way these are people that follow us.
Yeah, I don't think so either, because a lot of them were wondering too, they must be like liberals or blah blah blah.
I mean, a lot of people were like, they must be leftist.
Yeah, we do lean very left. Yeah, that's not anything new.
So if you made it this far, I'm so sorry that you're still watching.
All right, so this is episode 252, by the way. All right, so today we're going to do a video by the Baguette Bound, 3 American myths we don't believe anymore after living in Europe. And this is 1 month
Why'd you
old.
pronounce it like that? You like baguette?
All right. So
like it's a Birkin bag or something.
I don't know.
Brian's sick. Well, getting over being sick. So.
I do feel better, but yeah, I have a little bit of a cough. All right, so let's see.
There are 3 beliefs about life in the U.S. that Americans, including us, tend to grow up with.
I think we didn't even realize the extent to how ingrained these ideas are in the psyche of Americans until after we left the U.S.
Yeah.
It's almost a little like brainwashing.
A little bit.
Yeah.
But now that we live abroad in France, we realize that these almost universally held American beliefs aren't really so true. Hi, I'm Raina.
I'm Jason.
And we're Baguette Bound.
When you grow up in the U.S., you're surrounded by American flags. You recite the Pledge of Allegiance every day in school, right? And you're told both directly and indirectly all the time that the U.S. does everything the best.
Yeah.
Period.
But then when you move somewhere else, for us it was France, you realize that lots of other places in the world actually do a little better.
Yeah, it sounds so ridiculous and egotistical, I know, but when you grow up in a country as big and as isolated from other countries as the US is, you just really genuinely don't know and haven't seen anything different.
Yeah.
Then when you do see those other places and you realize like, whoa, there's places where people have like universal high quality healthcare and affordable education, and it's statistically much safer than the US.
Yeah, this is always a topic, and it's always been a topic that we've talked about, the healthcare.
Yeah.
But like, it's taken a CEO of a healthcare company getting murdered for people to start actually looking into things more that are like on the right or other things like that that are kind of always been against like a socialized healthcare type of thing.
Right. I've never seen our country other than 9/11. I've never seen us so united on one front.
Literally united.
Right.
No, but it's crazy. But I hate to say that, like, I don't promote like murder or anything, but it could be a good thing for the scope of all Americans to see how fucked up our healthcare system is.
I think the reaction to it all should send a message more than scare people, I guess.
Yeah. It should show like how in shambles our healthcare system is.
It probably makes a lot of people that were gaslighting themselves. Like, there's been many situations in this country where I'm like, does this only happen to some people? Like, it probably made people feel more validated.
Yeah.
Like, okay, it's not just me. This guy came from a wealthy family.
Yeah, apparently there's like some news that his mom was being screwed over by United.
Yeah.
So, well, I don't know exactly all. We're gonna have to wait and see the trial.
There's
and all
been
that.
manifestos coming out, but we don't know if they're real or not.
I think the feds wrote the manifesto. I don't think it was him. All right, let's say.
It really just shocks your American brain.
Yeah.
There's also this like weird, pervasive belief that because the US is the greatest country on earth, if they haven't figured it out, probably no one has.
Yeah.
That
This
is
can
a real
include
thing.
some really basic things, even like basic water sanitation.
Yep.
We had friends and family that came and visited us here in France recently, and they had to ask if they could drink the water. They'd actually brought
like,
with
what?
them a whole set of advanced water purification equipment.
God
And they
damn.
were brushing their teeth with bottled water at first before we
That's
could
more
talk
like
to them
in
and assure them
Southeast Asia
tap
and
water
stuff
is
that they say
perfectly,
to do that.
perfectly safe.
France is another advanced country.
Yeah.
I know. Yeah.
And we thought this was actually even more funny
Yeah.
because Avion water from Avion, France sells in the US for like $5 a bottle.
Damn.
So when you're in the US, you can drink French water, but not when you're in France. I don't know. Struck us as a little funny.
Yeah. You know, another commonly held American truism is that Americans are somehow just more free than people in other democracies. You know, even our national anthem, which we sing all
This is a huge thing right now, especially happening with the freedom of speech type of thing going on in our country. Like they're saying that now our freedom of speech is saved, so now we're never going to
that's
become
Trump.
like the other European socialist communist place. Like that's what like Trump and other people like to say a lot, is like stuff like that, which I don't know. I don't think hate speech is the key to keep our freedom of speech. Like I don't know.
the time. It includes the line, you know, the land of the free, the home of the brave. But what does that land of the free actually mean?
Right.
What liberties exactly do people have in the U.S. that they don't have in so many other places around the world?
Adding
You know, not long
4
ago,
meat
we heard
patties on your
someone
burger.
describe the difference in how Europeans and Americans view freedom. And it really struck home. It really captured the spirit of, I think, what we've observed here. You know, I think that Americans want the freedom to, you know, the freedom to carry a gun, to do what they want, when they want, to practice their religion openly, to choose how to spend all their money.
Yeah,
say
and the
whatever they want.
contrast to that was the idea that Europeans are looking more, they see freedoms from. So freedom from the threat of violence, freedom from dying lack of due to health care, freedom from having a religion imposed on them, freedom from pollution and toxins in their environment and food.
Yeah.
So I don't know. We were talking about this concept of what American freedom is. Feels like it's become really extreme in the last few years. Meaning in the U.S. now,
month.
like certain groups expect their own personal freedoms to trump
I love
A slight shade.
Yeah, I know.
It's literally just guns and being able to
Speech.
be a racist. That's it.
Pretty much.
No one has complained about any other lack of freedoms in this country.
Yeah.
everything else, no matter the cost to society or their fellow Americans.
Yeah, and as an American, the intensity of this individualism, I think it can color how you view the policies of the other countries out there.
Definitely.
You know, because you don't always realize or have the context to realize that these policies, they might mean different forms of freedom and still make for a more
Yeah.
stable, fair, open, and enjoyable society.
Yeah. So, I mean, lastly, the thing that has changed that we see differently now is quality of life and how we define it. In the US, when we lived there, versus now in France and Europe. When I was a kid in the US, my definition of like what quality of life or growing up and being able to have a good life was, it kind of revolved around how much money I could make when I grew up. That sounds embarrassingly materialistic, and it kind of is. But I mean, the honest thing is to be able to.
That's pumped into us from a very young age here. That like that's your status of success is material.
Yeah, material.
Yeah, instead of like quality of life, happiness, other things like that.
buy more, bigger, nicer, better things. It's just like a big focus of American culture.
Yeah,
you see
it's
it
everywhere.
on TV and movies and advertisements. So, I
unfortunately.
mean, that soaks in even when you're a kid. The house you can buy, the car you can drive, the size of the TV you have, if you buy your clothes or your candles from like certain shops, that all kind of paints a picture and defines if you have a good quality of life in U.S. culture.
Yeah, I think, and maybe in other words, being visibly wealthy is just a stand-in for quality of life in the U.S. So I think American people will sometimes say that the quality of life is lower in Europe. Why? Because that's what you can see. Europeans tend to make less money, have lower incomes. They live in smaller houses, they have fewer cars, they have tiny refrigerators. There's often no clothes dryers. What kind of place is this?
See this video.
Yeah. But we've come to understand that Europeans tend to have, I think they tend to be wealthier than Americans in two really distinct ways that might be hard to see from the outside, but probably define quality of life better than a simple GDP number or the number of seats in your SUV might capture. I think Europeans tend to have both more time and more peace of mind.
You don't got that here. You have the opposite.
I mean, that is, I am not saying in any
Well,
way.
that is what I loved, like when we went to Europe, like Spain and Italy. People just go on their own time, like doing everything. Like you don't feel like anyone's rushing. You don't feel like, I'm sure it happens, but you like in the overall sense of things, you don't feel like everyone's like in such a hurry to get somewhere.
Yeah.
They're willing to stop and talk to you. Like it's chill more. Like
it's more like in the present. It feels like
it's nice. I feel like that's a very nice thing. It's like here, it's like everyone's just fucking speeding to get where they need to get, and like we've talked about that before.
We're always thinking like 10 steps ahead instead of
that the French or Europeans in general they don't have worries, or they're like sitting around eating bonbons, or they never want to buy some, Air Jordans or an American-sized fridge.
Yeah.
None of that. But there's one really big difference I think that we've seen, and that is Europeans tend to have a value system around personal time and a social system that around basic human needs that support well-being.
Yeah, those two things, they come together for a quality of life that might be really hard to value on a graph or a balance sheet, the way you could, the stuff maybe in your house could be captured.
Yeah.
And what does those two things look like in France? There's just a deep respect for your free time to be able to spend with family and to do things for pleasure or maybe just intellectual interest.
Yeah.
This might mean that businesses are open for fewer hours, that work weeks are a little shorter, and workers generally get 5 weeks of vacation per year. And this all adds up to like more time for meals with family, more, access to high quality food. These are all things that are seen as essential parts of life.
Yeah.
I'm also not up at night worrying about how am I going to pay and buy my insulin.
Or like for you, like how am I going to keep getting my inhaler, all these types of things.
I'm so grateful, knock on wood, that neither of us has diabetes type 1. Because that is such a huge issue in this country.
And now with Ozempic and shit too.
Well, that's different too.
Well, probably makes it harder to get.
Yeah, I know. Well, no, I think now they've caught up to the demand.
Yeah.
But people having to cross borders to go get insulin is fucked up.
Yeah. And like now, like
it's so expensive here.
It sucks because like I'm sick, and if I have a really bad cough or anything, my insurance starts in January, so I can't go until next month.
I mean, you got time. I mean, you've gone a year without insurance.
Yeah, I know.
And realistically, you're not in like an emergency situation. You're just
sick.
Yeah,
no, I know, but it's crazy to think that. I don't know. I hope I have a good experience with the insurance that I'm using.
You will. You have a fairly decent one.
All right.
How am I going to pay for my daughter's education going forward?
So, I mean, again, it's not that life is easy, but there's a sense of ease and safety that I feel here in France that was just missing in the U.S. And, I mean, this peace of mind feels worth way more than that overpriced Pottery Barn comforter ever did in the U.S.
Yeah, wealth as the U.S. glamorizes it with more, and flashier stuff. Yeah. It just doesn't look the same to me now. And overcoming the idea that no one anywhere does anything better than the U.S., that Americans are somehow freer, or that America is the only place to find a high quality of life. These are all just myths that living abroad is
and I think that most people that are on all these like on YouTube and Instagram and all these other places that are just spouting like we're the best. Without us, no one will be shit. Like no one does it better than us. I think pretty much probably all of
That's
them
rage baiting, though. I
have
feel like.
never spent time abroad or seen the
No, a
differences.
lot of them know their audience and they know what's gonna.
You think they're doing it on purpose?
Most of them, I do believe, are doing it to rage bait.
Well, I'm talking about the people that are like commenting on things.
Oh, I thought you meant like.
No, I'm talking
yeah.
about people who comment on things saying like, well, you know, look at them and those communists and
Yeah,
socialists.
yeah.
over there.
Again,
Like they
superiority.
yeah,
Complex.
but like I'm also interested in that, but I don't know, maybe it has to do with like an empathy thing also.
I have a question for anyone overseas. Are the holidays, since Christmas is fast approaching, are they a huge time of consumerism there too, the way they are here?
I'm sure they are. Probably not as
I
much as here,
understand
but I'm sure
giving
they are.
gifts other places, but to the to the extent we do, it's pretty crazy out here.
Yeah, no, I don't think it's as much as here, but it's probably kind of similar.
Like, are people getting the new iPhone, getting
Yeah, I would think. I don't know.
iPads.
You guys let us know. Yeah, I don't know.
Right, because my niece wants an American Girl doll, and those things are like $100 minimum. And I'm like, you're 8. I love her, and I'm most likely gonna. I'm hoping I don't have to. I'm hoping to find something that she will like just as much that's cheaper. But why is an 8-year-old asking for $100? Oh, she wants an iPhone too, which she's not getting. But yeah, I would. It's just like laughable. But I don't know. I can't remember being 8 and wanting a $100 toy, even a $50 toy.
I don't either. Yeah.
Anyway.
Mantled for us.
Yeah. So, if you're hesitating to make the jump to live abroad, but it's your dream, don't let these internal beliefs that we as Americans kind of all get brainwashed into our whole lives. Don't let that stop you, because you know what? You're American. You're very.
My biggest fear about moving overseas is being American overseas, because a lot of it's not even about living there. It's about how people are going to treat you.
No, a lot of people
'Cause
are welcoming.
France scares me.
No, I think if you take the time to maybe learn the language and then if you're a peaceful person and you're respectful, anywhere
I think you can get away
you.
with that in some countries. I think there's a handful of countries where they will still be not so nice to you if they know you're American.
Maybe initially, but I don't think it'll stay like that.
Okay.
very optimistic. You can do anything. And sometimes that means moving. Thanks for watching.
A biento.
Cool. A biento. A biento. I'm just kidding.
Christ.
Yeah, they're cool. Baguette Bound. Give them a follow. I always put the original in the description.
Cool.
All right. Yeah, that's true. So the biggest laugh is that the rest of the world does not see the USA as the greatest country in the world. Yeah,
Right.
I know.
We know now. But I do think there was a time where people did.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah,
But I
it
do
used to
think
be
there
long
was
ass
also
time
a
ago.
time where it was a lot better, probably in the 70s and other stuff like that.
Yeah.
Well, yep, that was a cool video. If you have the time and the kindness in your heart, like and subscribe, we appreciate it. And if you want
And wish Brian to
a
feel
speedy
better.
recovery.
Because I don't know how many more days I can deal with. the
Shut
cough.
up. I hate being sick though, honestly.
No, I'm kidding.
If you want to also go jump over to our vlog channel. Yeah, and subscribe and like. All right, we'll see you on the next one.
Bye.
Peace.